If you sat Americans down and asked them policy questions without any political bias, most of the time people tend to answer in affirmation of progressive policies. When you ask people about healthcare, they tend to gravitate towards more healthcare. You ask them about higher wages, people always want higher wages. People tend to gravitate towards giving workers' rights, ending wars, increasing the social safety net. If you don't put a political spin on it, most of the time, Americans tend to gravitate more towards populist, progressive policies. And unfortunately, the only way that conservatives are able to win any arguments and debates when it comes to policy is because the wealthy, the uber wealthy, the billionaire class, tend to fund propagandists like Ben Shapiro, Dave Rubin, Megyn Kelly, you name it, they will dump money at them. You've got plenty of B tier as well. You got, well, I would say Dave Rubin is definitely B tier, Tim Pool, and a guy that we need to talk about today, his name is Benny Johnson. Closeted case Benny Johnson. I'll get to that part in a minute. But Benny Johnson's star is on the rise, although I have seen a couple of articles lately about Benny Johnson, how his viewership on YouTube has been going down, but yet he seems to be getting more and more subscribers. It's probably one of those pay-to-play kind of things. It reminds me of Ben Shapiro, who got lots and lots of funding from a mega oil wealthy brother team called the Wilks Brothers. There are many guys that are like that who get tons of funding from like the Koch brothers, the Wilks brothers, big industrialists, guys that love deregulation and unfettered capitalism. And if those people, like the Koch brothers or the Wilks brothers or their like, actually tried to talk to the American public, they would probably spit in their face. So they fund people like Ben Shapiro and this guy, Benny Johnson, to spread their propaganda in the hopes that people will go, yeah, man, I like what that guy has to say, even though they wouldn't appreciate the policy prescriptions that that the Koch brothers are pushing, you know, unfettered capitalism and deregulation. But that's why they throw money at people like Benny Johnson. And Benny Johnson was on his program the other day talking about the federal invasion of Washington, D.C., and he's got some stuff to say that is troubling, to say the least.
So no, D.C. is not safe, and I can tell you this as a matter of fact, it is.
By the way, yet again, I will repeat, D.C.'s crime rate is at a 30-year low. He's going to say, that's his argument,
one of the worst, most racist narco states and welfare states imaginable. In that neighborhood,
that's white racism, I would think. You know, reverse racism.
Neighborhood that I would walk every single day. Racial epithets were screamed at us. Rocks were thrown at us.
Honey, give me a break. You lived in D.C. and people were yelling racial epithets at you and throwing rocks. Citation needed, you lying asshole.
Because we were white people. This city is a sunken place. It is an unsafe place. I mean, if that's what happens to me, imagine what happens to somebody who's like visiting here from a foreign country. Right? It's totally and wholly unsafe and a scar on the face of our country. And it must be healed.
The only reason why it's a scar on the face of our country is because of the polecat in the White House, but Go on with your bad self and your pomade hair.
And President Trump is going about that heavy work. So God bless the president.
God bless him.
Here's President Trump's announcement yesterday. It was live on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, a recap here.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor.
Squalor. And worse than squalor.
This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're
taking it back from the thugs.
Our capital back.
We're taking it back.
Under the authorities
back to the
vested
future.
in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District.
And afterwards, I'm going to take a long nap.
You know what that is?
I don't know what it is.
Placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved with that.
Not by me.
Very good people.
I don't know who they are. They're tough.
And they know what's happening. And they've done it before.
I don't know, but they know.
In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job.
And now I'm going to give it back to Benny.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is precisely what not only President Trump has the power to do, but also the obligation
and it makes my nipples really
President
hard.
Trump must do this for the preservation of his administration. And consider where so much of this stems from. Big balls. Remember Big Balls? What's his name? Edward Constantine?
I cannot believe that we're still talking about a 19-year-old kid who got his ass handed to him by a couple of 15-year-olds, one of which was a girl. He got a bloody nose, and he was embarrassed about it, and that was the catalyst for Donald Trump to do what he always wanted to do in the first place, which was to start in D.C., declare the Home Rule Act, and invade like a fascist dictator.
I've never met him. He's famous. He worked for Doge. He's a 19-year-old. That just a few blocks from where we are broadcasting right now in the heart of the White House, Big Balls stopped a mugging that was happening to an innocent woman.
One black man is a thug. 2 black people are a gang. 3 black people is a marauding force. According to Republicans, that's all you need.
He stopped it, and for his trouble was beat within an inch of his life and left bloodied and dead. 4 dead on the road.
Oh,
Thank God.
please,
He's
man. He got
now.
smacked around by a couple of teenagers.
This inspired President Trump to talk about the savagery of D.C. How can you expect to run an administration? We know so many wonderful people in this White House. There's so many honorable and dignified people that work here.
And Republicans who are scared to death. They don't even wear seatbelts in their car because they need to run for their lives, even though they're all tough guys, and they sleep in their office because they're so afraid to go outside. They need to get Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib or maybe AOC to walk them out to their car because they feel scared, even though they're tough. That's the thing with fascists, man. They're always super strong and they can't be defeated, but they're always victims and they're scared of everything. You just explain to me that conundrum.
They're our friends. They're our family. We care about them. And I fear for them every single day when they walk to work, just like I feared for my wife walking to work. I dropped my wife off at work every single day in our car at the crack of dawn in the morning because I was so scared of her riding the subway in the metro here. This is how dangerous of a place this is. And President Trump and his administration will not be able to get their jobs done if they fear for their lives every day going to and from work. No good man or woman would ever sacrifice their family or their safety in order to work in a rat-infested, hellscape, narco and welfare state like this, where gangs run the streets like it's South Sudan. How can you expect good people to move here and want to wish to work here? Your country is going to fall by proxy.
Honey, people live in that city. Rat-infested hellhole, hellscape, South Sudan. Oh my God, I am scared fucking shitless. Oh, I wanted to get to this part here. I'm trying to find it. You got to get past the Donald Trump nonsense. Let me see if this is it.
Right next to the Capitol building. And this Democrat member of Congress gets robbed, carjacked, and they took his sushi and his vehicle.
Oh my God, they took his sushi.
The youths, as President Trump calls them. They've sort of wished D.C. to become a real place with a feckless city council and a woke mayor who, might I remind you, painted
She's
defund
black.
the police on the roads in front of the White House.
She also
We
took
have
it
that
down.
gorgeous image. I'm not sure if we have it on hand, but it's that beautiful image taken from a drone high up above D.C. with the defund the police message straight down the avenue leading to the White House. This was done by the city of D.C., by the mayor of D.C. There you go. Yeah, there it is in part, right? Defund the police. There it is in black and white. So the city has chosen, the city's government has chosen to abdicate on behalf of criminals, abusers, rapists, and murderers, all of their responsibilities to lead. By the way, in case you're wondering, that's right in front of the church that Black Lives Matter burned to the ground, right? So this is St. John's Church. That's the closest church to the White House.
There's a piece that I'm missing here. I thought it was, did I overshoot it or what?
Joining us today, we have U.S. Capitol Police Chief Stephen expenses on credit cards.
Oh God, let's
Very,
sell
very
some houses.
expensive. Get out of debt today. Call America.
Get some old people to.
Every single day, I was worried about getting robbed. I was robbed more times than I can count. And I lived on the same block as members of Congress and ambassadors.
He talks.
It's not like you're privileged.
He talks about how, he had to have his little daughter saved from a fire. It was the house next door to him that caught fire, and it's like stolen valor he's talking about. But I thought I had the clip here. I apologize. I thought I had the clip. Is it this one here? I love that picture of him sticking with his tongue out.
President Trump is doing God's work by refederalizing D.C. By the way, D.C. was set up as a federal city. It's in the Constitution. It's how our founding fathers intended it.
No, they didn't.
These laws are still fully enforceable. They've never been rescinded or amended.
Well, that
President
was a mistake.
Trump and the executive, through the House of Representatives, controls Washington, D.C. President Trump controls budgets. House of Representatives and the Speaker of the House is technically and historically the mayor, the lead of D.C.
God, he talks slow.
That still remains on the books. What happened to D.C., especially during the civil rights period, was that protesters that were bussed up here stayed here. The city was burned to the ground. This happened during massive riots throughout the 60s and 70s.
It was not burned
Mass
to the
swaths
ground.
of the city were torched and were never.
I mean, now he's talking about the civil rights movement as if it was a bad thing. But yeah, okay, man. Martin Luther King, he brought all the blacks to the city and they burned the city down, even though the city is still there and it didn't get burned down. But okay, man.
really rebuilt. And so what President Trump is doing is reasserting control of not only our nation's capital, but truly the seat of Western civilization. There's one final little note here that kind of blends outside of the personal, which is that Washington, D.C. is a representation of the work of your forefathers and mine. It is, by every measure, a very beautiful city architecturally. It is a sacred city. It is a sovereign place with the monuments to great men and women who've sacrificed far more than you or I could ever dream for this country. It must be preserved because the peoples of Earth come here by the millions per year in order to witness the success or failures of our systems. And if you are a proud patriot and you love this country and you wish for it to be reflected honorably to the peoples of Earth, then Washington, D.C. must be...
What is this peoples of Earth shit? Take me to your leader. Are you a human? Inquiring minds want to know, Benny.
...swept clean. I believe entire neighborhoods probably need to be emptied, need to be bulldozed. I believe that there are places that are so crime-ridden and so infested that you just need to, you're just going to have to crack down.
Just cleanse the place, man. Swept clean. How very 1938 Rushtag German must clean the place, clean all of the human waste, the useless eaters. Got to clean them up. We're going to bulldoze neighborhoods. What neighborhood are you talking about, Benny? I'm pretty sure you're not talking about Georgetown. or Foggy Bottom, I'm pretty sure you're talking about poor black neighborhoods. And where are you going to send them to, Benny? I love Republicans' idea on how to fix the problem with poverty and the homelessness. Let's just put them somewhere, stick them somewhere, put them in a hole and forget about them. That's the idea. Let's sweep it clean. God, man, he's a scumbag. Anyway, let's move on. I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but the White House press corps, Carolyn Levitt, leave it out, darling. Fascist Barbie here. She invites social media people to come and sit at the press corps. And they are always ass-kissing right-wingers. And today, this day, August 12th, she brought out old Benny Johnson, a grown-ass man who still refers to himself as Benny. And this is what old Benny has to say.
Let's get started. And as always, we'll start with our new media seat, who is our podcast host today, Benny Johnson. Benny, why don't you kick us off? And thanks for being here.
Make sure you kiss my ass and you kiss the president's ass, and then, flatter us a little bit. And then, and then don't ask a question. Just kiss my ass.
Thank you, Caroline. As a DC resident of 15 years, I lived on Capitol Hill. I witnessed so many muggings and so much theft. I lost track. I was carjacked. I have murders on my Ring camera and mass shootings.
Is there a question in here, or are you just going to go over grievances? And by the way, I don't believe any of this shit. I don't believe any of it. Oh, I've got murders on my Ring camera, and I had to... firefighters had to rescue my child from a fire that happened next door, that I went out and took a social media picture pointing at the building as it burned down. Yeah, man, you're such a victim. You're so scared of everything. Just a big fucking coward. And by the way, are you wearing exactly the same suit and tie that you were just wearing? Seriously, is that the same suit and tie? It's literally the same suit and tie. You just left there and went here. Okay. Let's see what other bullshit he's got to say. Dude.
Witnessed a woman on my block get held up at gunpoint for $20, and my house was set ablaze in an
It was not his house. It was the house next door. That right there tells me that he's lying about everything else. My house was set ablaze.
Person with my infant child inside. And so to any reporter that says and lies that DC is a safe place to live and work, let me just say this. Thank you. Thank you for making the city safe.
So he's not here to actually ask a question as part of the press corps. He is there to kiss ass and say, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to sit in this seat and then glaze up you and the president. Oh my God, it's such a privilege.
Parents should have to go through what my family went through, having the fire department rip open their door to save their infant child.
It was next door, Benny.
Thank you for your work on securing this city. My question to you is this. Nancy Pelosi has attacked the president.
By the way, I don't know why Forbes cut it here, but they cut it here. So I'm going to go to the other half of it and finish it up with what he has to say with his silly ass question about Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi has attacked the president for deploying the National Guard to the city, saying that it is to cover for his incompetence. Hillary Clinton has also attacked the president for securing the city of Washington, D.C. I'd like to get your response, follow-up to that. Given the heroic actions of a member of this administration just a few blocks from this building, will the president consider giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Big Balls?
What are we doing here, man? Will the president give the Presidential Medal of Freedom? Which, by the way, the people that get that usually do a lifetime of service to get the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I mean, maybe some people like Rush Limbaugh didn't fucking deserve it, but Rush Limbaugh, not saying he did anything good, but according to Republicans, he did radio for like 30 years selling bullshit Republican propaganda, kind of like what Benny Johnson is trying to do here, but he's not even half the fucking man that psycho Rush Limbaugh was. You're just a pale shadow of that asshole. But you have to do something to get the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And I can't even believe I'm fucking entertaining this. But when is the president going to give the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Big Balls? You don't even know his name. I think his name is Corstein or some shit. But Jesus Christ, man, that's your question? I made it all the way to the White House press corps. And I ramble on for 2 minutes, licking yours and the president's ass. And my question is, Nancy Pelosi is bad, right? Hillary Clinton is bad, right? And when is the president going to give the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Big Balls, the 19-year-old who got beat up by a couple of teenagers? What the fuck are we doing, man? We are living in the dumbest fucking timeline. Moving on. Give you a little backstory on old Benny Johnson here. Right-wing influencers were duped to work for covert Russian operations. They have millions of followers online. They have major players in right-wing political discourse since Donald Trump was president, and they work unknowingly for a company that was a front for a Russian influence operation. This is all documented, folks. An indictment filed Wednesday against alleges a media company called Tenet, linked to 6 conservative influencers, including well-known personalities Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, and Benny Johnson, was secretly funded by a Russian state media employee to churn out English language videos that were often consistent with Kremlin's interest in amplifying U.S. domestic divisions in order to weaken U.S. opposition to Russia's interest, like the war in Ukraine. You remember all of the right-wing influencers out there were, kind of pushing this whole thing last year, and they pushed it so hard that if you listen to them full time, you would think that Ukraine invaded Russia. But they were paid upwards of like $100,000 per episode. Dave Rubin got like $5 million. This Tenet Media was fronted by a right-wing influencer woman that all of these guys knew. And she said she was getting her funding from a wealthy oligarch known as Edward Gregorian. Can you think of a more made-up name than Edward Gregorian, as in the Gregorian calendar? And they have this picture of him on a plane with his face glazed over so you can't recognize his face. And these guys, it was 6 of them, but these Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and Dave Rubin all got paid upwards of about $5 million for doing a handful of episodes, just basically preaching all of the things that they wanted to preach. And they did not even bother to ask where the money was coming from. Can you imagine getting paid tens of thousands of dollars from some strange, wealthy billionaire and not doing your due diligence to find out who the fuck this person is? Where is this money coming from? This looks kind of bad. But none of them did. So either this is the kind of arrangement that they have with wealthy oligarch types all the time, or they just are too dumb to even think about where's this money coming from. An indictment filed on Wednesday alleges media company linked to 6 conservative influencers. I already read that. In addition to marking a third straight presidential election in which U.S. authorities have unveiled politically charged details about Russian attempt to interfere in the U.S. politics, an indictment indicates how Moscow may have attempted to capitalize on the skyrocketing popularity of right-wing podcasters. Bibi Netanyahu sure has. He went on the Nelk Boys. Donald Trump, he went on Joe Rogan and Andrew Schultz. J.D. Vance went on, well, what's that other dude's name? I can't remember his name right now. He's like, whoa, man. I did a lot of meth when I was younger, man. You ever do meth? I can't remember his name, but all of these guys knew that going through these social media right-wing influencers was the way to get to young people to go out and vote in the polls. And a lot of young people did, and they all went out and voted for Donald Trump. Let me see here. Unveiled charges detail about Russia's attempt to Let's get through that. Live streamers and other content creators have found successful careers on social media in years since Trump is in office. U.S. Justice Department doesn't allege any wrongdoing by the influencers, although, Jesus Christ, man, golly gee, I didn't do anything wrong. I just took $5 million from some rich guy that I didn't know anything about, to spread propaganda saying that Ukraine is really bad and we should all turn our backs on them. Some who say that they were given false information about the source of the company's funding. Instead, it accused 2 employees of RT, Russia State Media Company, of funneling nearly $10 million to a Tennessee-based content creation company for Russian-friendly content. After the indictments were announced, both Poole and Johnson issued statements on social media, which Rubin retweeted saying that they were victims. They were victims that earned millions of dollars. I'd love to be a victim of millions of dollars. Man, that sounds like it would be really terrible and awful. Golly gee, it would suck for, some rich guy to give me millions of dollars. I'm victim. How could you be a victim? How are you a victim? God damn. We still do not know what is true, as these are only allegations, Poole said. Putin is a scumbag. Oh, is he now? But, Zelensky is worse. In the post, Johnson wrote he had been asked a year ago to provide content to a media startup. He said his lawyers negotiated a standard arm's length deal, which was later terminated after he got the money. Konstantin Kalashnikov, guy's named after a gun, or Kalashnikov, and Ellen, I'm not even going to try it, are charged with conspiracy to commit money laundering and violating the Foreign Agents Restriction Act. They are at large and was not immediately clear if they had lawyers. U.S. officials have previously warned of Russia's use of unwitting Americans. Yeah, man, they're definitely unwitting. Dumb as a box of rocks. Russia used unwitting Americans to further influence operations in the 2024 election, but Wednesday's indictment is the most detailed description of those efforts to date. At a forum on Thursday, Russian President Vladimir Putin appeared to suggest jokingly that he would support Vice President Kamala Harris in the upcoming election. Intelligence officers have said Moscow has a preference for Trump. Let's see here. Though the indictment does not name the Tennessee-based company, the details match up with Tenet Media, an online media company that boasts of hosting a network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western politics and cultural issues. Tenet's website lists 6 influencers who provided content, including Poole, Johnson, Dave Rubin, Lauren Southern, Taylor Hansen, and Matt Christensen. Tenet Media's 6 main influencers have more than 7 million subscribers on YouTube and more than 7 million followers on Twitter. Fueled by public outrage and online fandom, the influencers who made up the bench of talent at Tenet Media have amassed millions of loyal followers who agree with their staunch conservatism and brazen unwillingness to voice controversial opinions. Their channels also have created communities for conservative Americans who have lost trust in mainstream media sources. Though Trump's 2020 loss and the COVID-19 pandemic, several of them have faced criticism for spreading political misinformation. The indictment shows that some of the influencers were paid handsomely for their work. One unidentified influencer contract included a $400,000 monthly fee. That was Dave Rubin. A $100,000 signing bonus and additional performance bonuses. That's a lot of money to talk on YouTube. That is a butt ton of money. Tenet Media shows in recent months have featured high-profile conservative guests, including Republican National Committee co-chair Laura Trump, former Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, and U.S. Senate candidate Carrie Lake. The nearly 2,000 videos posted by the companies have gotten more than 16 million views on YouTube alone, prosecutors said. Poole, a journalist, that's funny, Tim Poole, a journalist. He's bald-headed Tim Poole, beanie hat wearing Tim Poole, a journalist turned YouTuber. Her first gained public attention for live streaming the Occupy Wall Street protest, hosted Trump on his podcast earlier this year. Johnson is an outspoken Trump supporter and internet personality who was fired from BuzzFeed after the company found evidence that he had plagiarized others' work. Rubin was previously part of a liberal news commentary show, The Young Turks, until he realized he wasn't going to make any money, but has since identified as a libertarian. He boasts the largest YouTube following of Tenet's influencers roster and hosts a show called The Rubin Report. Speaking of Dave Rubin, this one right here. An AI clone of Dave Rubin is taking over his show. In August, the political talk show The Rubin Report will air 5 days a week on YouTube, hosted by Dave Rubin, but Rubin will actually not be there. He will be on vacation, completely unplugged from any devices. So he is going to use AI to cover him while he's on vacay. Does that not tell you everything that you need to know about this guy? That he has nothing interesting to say, that he is easily filled in for by an AI version of himself, that he's so fucking unoriginal that AI just has to watch his videos and then just can give a fair representation of his ridiculous, uneducated blather. I remember one time he was on Joe Rogan years and years ago talking about we need to get rid of regulation in building houses. And even dumbass Joe Rogan was like, man, you can't do that. You can't put electric lines and water lines together. That's a hazard. You need some kind of regulation. And he's like, well, we could just get rid of it. He's like, we could just, and get rid of the post office while you're at it. I mean, just because they mail chickens, I mean, you guys have to watch that fucking thing. It's so goddamn ridiculous. Dave Rubin could not think his way out of a wet paper bag. And this right here is kind of proof that what he says is worthless because it can be replaced by AI. God damn, man. Aren't you supposed to go on vacation and make your fans miss you a little bit? No, here's some AI slop for your ass. You're dumb. You'll just listen to this and believe it. I mean, tell me you don't respect your audience without telling me you don't respect your audience. One last thing on Benny Johnson. I wanted to show you this. Benny Johnson posted this. This is years ago, but he posted this. He goes, the advertising on the Military Times right now, and there is this a gay cruise being advertised, and then he got roasted by the commenters telling him, it's like, dude, these are targeted ads. You are obviously looking at gay stuff, gay porn, gay cruise stuff, and they're advertising to you. These are targeted ads. You are a closeted gay man, and now you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they're putting the gay stuff on the Military Times. Let me share this with all of my fans out there. And then this guy, Matt, says, love it when conservative podcaster Benny Johnson complained about seeing ads for gay cruises without realizing that the ads were customized based on your search history. Look, I don't care if he's gay. Secretly, I think that Donald Trump has got a little zest in him too. And he would have been much happier as an interior decorator or doing a TV talk show where, he got to talk about relationships and shit. I mean, I remember hearing him talk about who are the two people on the Twilight show. He would have comments about that. He would always be on Twitter commenting on people's relationships, talking, to the ladies going, You don't deserve that. They're treating you really badly. You should leave them and maybe come visit me or something. We'll have a nice conversation. Girl, you don't need that. Girl, you'll be fine without him. Just leave him. So I don't care if these guys are gay. I care about their hypocrisy. I care about them taking their vitriol and hatred out on open and living out in public gay people. You guys pretend like you hate, what you hate really is the gay person inside of you, and you're suppressing it, you're pushing it down, which is why most of the time when you hear about a scandal like that, it's usually a closeted gay Republican who is always screaming in public about how horrible gay people are in the LGBT community and everything is all woke. And then meanwhile, the RNC chair named a Matt Schlapp gets busted for grabbing his young interns' penises. It's always the same thing. The old Shakespeare quote, "Thou doth protest too much." Now, Benny Johnson, being a closeted gay man, I would have some empathy for him, but he's also wretched and horrible. And he's talking about cleansing, blue cities, starting with Washington, D.C., and we need to bulldoze those poor communities and get rid of them. So I've got no empathy or sympathy for this guy. He's a horrible, wretched human being, along with all those other podcasters who are all secretly hiding their, all of their little vices, and they go out in public and say vices are bad and they're terrible and we need to get rid of them, and lie. And then in private, they are all, secretly gay or, Dave Rubin, that guy, he's gay. He came out. He finally did come out. And I think there was one moment he came out and he said that he and his husband, and all the people that watch his show, half of them aren't familiar with him, didn't know he was gay. And when he said he and his husband were adopting 2 children, and you read the comments, and the comments were like, you're disgusting, you're horrible, I'll never listen to you again, you don't deserve any children, you're a F slur, or, go fuck yourself, we hate you. These guys are on the grift. These guys know where the money is. They know that wealthy billionaire types are willing to throw buckets of money at them, so they will go out on the interwebs and spread their propaganda. And they don't care how much of a hypocrite it makes them look like. They don't care how much they have to suppress their inner feelings and their humanity. They're willing to do it for the fucking cash. And that is why I have a problem with these people, including Mr. Benjamin Gay Boy Johnson. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.